Why do we say every Shabbat, arise, Creator, and let your enemies be scattered? According to Kabbalah, it's not talking about external enemies at all. In the portion of Beha'alotcha, Aaron the high priest lights the menorah made from one single piece of gold. The word Beha'alotcha means elevation, stepping upward. And immediately after, the Torah jumps to the powerful verse, Vayhi bin Aaron. And when the ark journeyed, the prayer we still say every Shabbat when the ark opens. And we say, arise the Creator, and let your enemies be scattered. Let those who hate you flee before you. There are 7 words here that have the power to remove every blockage in our lives. After this energy is revealed, there are the 2 inverted letters Nun, the special symbols in the Torah text. And after that, there are complaints. Most of the book of Bamidbar, Numbers, is about the children of Israel complaining. Nothing new, but about what? They want to return to Egypt. And the children of Israel cried and said, who will feed us meat? We miss eating meat, steak, in the desert, because the manna had a certain taste. They remember the fish they had in Egypt for free. It's like someone leaving prison and wanting to go back. But what does it mean when the Torah says we miss the fish we had for free? What does free really mean? There's a passage in the Talmud that says, Yagata umatzata ta'amin. If you labored and found, believe it. If you didn't labor and found, do not believe it. Now think about that. Found usually means discovering something without effort. So why does the Talmud say, you worked hard and found? That sounds like a contradiction. It should say, you worked hard and earned it, believe it. But instead it says, you worked hard and what you found, believe it. Why? Because the confusion in our emotional world began with the sin of Adam and Eve. Before they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and bad, emotional clarity was precise. If they felt something was wrong, it was actually wrong. There was alignment. But after that, things became reversed. Today, the things we love most, for example, to eat, are often the things that are the least healthy for us. It should be the opposite. We should be able to trust our bodies. But very often, what attracts us is not what is actually good for us. That has been the spiritual law ever since the first sin of Adam. Our emotions became mixed. And even when we want more joy in our lives, more motivation, more fulfillment, everything changes when we truly understand this. What I receive in my life is already far greater than anything I could ever give in return. If we lived with that awareness all the time, what would we naturally look for? More opportunities to give, more opportunities to contribute. But usually what do we think instead? So what is the Satan voice in our head? It's the voice that says, I did so much, I deserve to receive that. The moment I fall into the trap of I deserve, we become spiritually blind. Blind to see the light, blind to feel the blessings that are already present. Because Satan is not just a serpent. Satan is the consciousness of wanting to receive without earning. That was the serpent's curse, to eat dust. Dust is everywhere. It's available for free. And that itself is the curse. There's a story Rav Ashlag shares. A man who owned a bakery spent his entire life only taking. He never gave. He reached the end of his life and passed away. He arrives in heavens. There is a sheet of paper waiting for him with 2 columns. One says, how proactive were you? The other, how reactive were you? And there are 2 paths, one leading to heaven, one leading to hell. And they tell him, fill in the chart yourself and decide where you belong. So he starts filling it out. 20 murders, 20 thefts. Then he thinks, well, I once helped an old woman cross the street. And suddenly he says to himself, I'm going to jackpot. He chooses heaven. He starts walking, no one stops him, and he thinks, wow, even here I beat the system. Feeling very proud of himself, he enters heaven, and an angel approaches him and asks, what can I do for you? That man says, what do you mean? The angel says, here, you can ask for anything you want. He's shocked. Really? The angel says, yes. Hungry? No problem. Instantly, incredible food appears. Gluten-free, no problem. Exactly what he wants. He eats until he's completely full. Then the angel appears again. What now? The moment the pleasure ends, what now? The man wants something to drink. Immediately it appears. Again, the angel returns. What now? Now the man says, you know what? I'm a little bored. Can I rob a bank? The angel says, no problem. He hands him 2 bags. The man walks into a bank, takes all the money, walks out, and then suddenly stops. The angel appears. Is there a problem, sir? The man says, yes, I'm missing some excitement. A little adrenaline, some gunfire, someone trying to stop me. It's too easy. Is it possible for me to shoot someone? And the angel replies, here there is no permission to kill. And the man really doesn't like that. So he says, you know what? Send me to hell. And the angel answers, you fool, where do you think you are? This is such a profound teaching. What do we think heaven looks like? I get whatever I want. I do whatever I want. Everything comes easily. But that itself can be the greatest curse. One of life's deepest curses is becoming blind to opportunities. Sometimes people think, why do I have to work so hard for this? But who says that's a curse? Maybe that's actually the blessing. That's why the Talmud says, if you work hard, if you push yourself, if you stretch emotionally, if ideas begin coming to you, trust that process. Why? Because the right feeling comes when there is 100% effort. And working hard doesn't necessarily mean physical labor. It means meeting challenges, resisting your reactive nature, developing discipline, acting with willingness and speed, not just doing something as a favor. One reason we repeat the same spiritual corrections again and again is because most of us are not using the potential we were meant to use in money, in relationships, health, purpose. Things often diminish because there was no vessel built to hold more. Sometimes a person may even have the spiritual potential to live longer, but shortens their own life because they never developed the vessel. There's a story. In one town, there was a rabbi with enormous ego. His attitude was, I'm the most important person here. And there was another rabbi, the exact opposite, Rav Zusha. Rav Zusha felt he deserved nothing. One of the wealthiest men in town was marrying off his son. He sent a messenger to personally invite the 2 rabbis. The arrogant rabbi takes the guest list and sees he's listed as number 14, not number 1. And he thinks, how is this possible? I'm the most important person officiating this wedding, and I'm number 14. So he decides, I'll teach them a lesson. I'll arrive an hour late. Everyone will wait for me. Then they will know who's really important. Meanwhile, when the messenger arrives at Rav Zusha's home, Zusha is shocked. Me? I'm invited? Are you sure? My name is actually on the list? Wow, what an honor. He felt embarrassed receiving so much honor, and he thought, I should come an hour earlier to help set up tables. I haven't done anything to deserve this energy. The wedding time arrives. The ego-driven rabbi still hasn't shown up. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, still nothing. Finally, the father of the groom sees Rav Zusha and says, you're a rabbi, right? Perhaps you could officiate the wedding. Zusha says, me? Officiate? Wow. The ceremony happens beautifully. Late at the meal, they sit Rav Zusha at the head table. Then the arrogant rabbi finally arrives, and he's horrified. The wedding already happened. There's nowhere for him to sit. The only available seat is near the kitchen. Most of the food is gone. Only leftovers remain. And he becomes furious. But where did the anger begin? With one thought, I deserve better. How often do we do this? Why am I not number 1? But really, who cares? You were invited? That should have been enough. Every time I feel anger, it's often because I think I deserve more. Every time I feel sadness, it's often because I believe I should have received more. And when we live without consciousness, we become blind. That is the consciousness of the serpent.
If you're enjoying this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Book now with me one-to-one session in angel coaching and communication coaching. To learn more, email or DM me. Enjoy the video.
Of the serpent. But imagine waking up every morning thinking, I already received far more than I could ever repay. That is healthy consciousness. But if I wake up thinking, what can I get today? I work so hard, I deserve more, then my vision becomes limited and I stop seeing blessings already in my life. So why is the portion called Beha'alotcha? To elevate? Because in spirituality, it's not enough just to perform an action. That's why the actual lighting of the candles is secondary to the idea of elevation. The real question is, did the action rise? When we do something positive, our intention should be that the action becomes elevated. But what does that actually mean? There's a story about another Kabbalist, Baal Shem Tov. He entered a place of prayer, but he couldn't go in. Why? Because spiritually he saw that all the prayers were stuck in the room. They had not risen. This is a profound teaching. Sometimes we do something positive, we help someone, we give, we serve, and we think, that's it, I did the action. But that alone is not enough. We need to elevate the action to a higher place. What does elevation mean? Elevation begins with consciousness, because the place where Satan enters is between our thoughts, our words, our actions. That gap is where distortion enters, which means every action requires three components, not just doing the right thing, but the right consciousness, the right words, the right action. The Zohar teaches that when we perform an action, we create angels that carry the energy of that action upward. But sometimes the energy gets stuck. A person can do everything right externally and still the energy doesn't rise. So how do we elevate? First, consciousness, then the words, then the action. For example, someone helps another person but doesn't actually want to help. They're mostly concerned with, what will people think of me? So yes, they performed the correct action, but their heart wasn't fully there. How do you know your heart wasn't fully there? Because afterward, you complain about what you did. You resent it, you regret it. And once that happens, that energy cannot rise. Because what was the idea of the menorah? The Torah says it had to be made from one single piece. Why? Because humanity is one soul. Our spiritual organism is one. So if I do an action that does not truly serve the whole, that action does not create the impact it was meant to create. This happens all the time. People pray to find their soulmates, but what do they expect? An email with a phone number? They put a note in the western wall and wait. But when we ask the light for something, children, money, relationships, abundance, what are we really asking for? We are asking the light for a way to earn it. So what does the light send? Challenges. The exact challenges that will allow us to become the person capable of receiving what we asked for. And this is why things sometimes feel stuck in life. Maybe in a previous lifetime, we took something for granted. Maybe we abused relationships. Maybe we weren't ready to hold what we wanted. Usually when we pray, we expect, I'll open my eyes and it must be there. But spiritually, it doesn't work that way. We must earn it, which means challenges are not proof the light ignored you. Challenges are proof the light answered you. Instead of saying, I prayed, I asked, nothing happened, the truth may be the exact opposite, because what comes easily and for free can actually be a curse. That's what we learn from the serpent. Imagine a life where you never worry about food, where everything is handed to you, where there is nothing to work toward, no growth, no vessel, no building, no transformation. The light constantly gives us opportunities to earn blessings, but many times we misuse those opportunities. So in order not to lose them, we need the consciousness of, I am not entitled. Even the simple ability to wake up in the morning is already more than I could ever repay. If I wake up with a consciousness, I already received so much, then the natural question becomes, what more can I do? That is the guaranteed happiness, because there are people who, no matter how much they have, are never happy. And that itself is a curse. Think about that. The Torah gives us a clue through the inverted letter Nun that appears in this portion. Why is it there? Because when we lose something in life, it feels like a fall. And the Rav would always say, the only place we truly fall is in our consciousness. The moment I decide I lost, then loss becomes real. Because Satan can only conceal. He cannot actually take the energy. The only one who gives away the energy is us. The moment I decide it's over, I lost it, it's gone, that very decision gives Satan power to hide the light. As we say, Satan can never take away anything. He can conceal it. That's why it's an illusion. We can make it appear as though it disappeared, like a magician, making something seem gone when it's actually still there. But if I have certainty, if I know the light is still there, and the reason it's hidden, because maybe I need to earn it, maybe I need to push a little harder, maybe I need to make more effort, but I know it's still there. And if it's still there, then everything can return, everything. That is the power of this letter. It gives us the strength not to lose that consciousness. Because why do most people die? Because at some point they gave up on life. Not necessarily because healing wasn't possible, not because recovery wasn't possible, but because the pain became so overwhelming that the person no longer wanted to continue. And that decision itself becomes the turning point. Otherwise, they might have healed. The main thing Satan does is make us lose this consciousness. That's all. To make us believe it's over. I lost. There's nothing left. Which is why we need help. So what do we need to elevate? The awareness that there is no such thing as true loss. A person dies, the soul is still there. Money disappears, the energy is still there. A relationship ends, the lesson, the light, the transformation are still there. I may need to learn, I may need to change, I may need to become different, but nothing truly disappears. Satan is a magician, an illusionist. He makes things appear gone, but reality is deeper than appearance. The only person who truly loses the energy is us. The moment we believe I lost it, we are the ones giving power to Satan. Because Satan has no real power of his own. Only the power we hand over through our consciousness. The moment we decide it's gone, there's no hope, I lost the opportunity, we give energy to the illusion. But the truth is, nothing real can be taken from us. Only hidden, only concealed. And when our consciousness changes, the light can be revealed again.